Amber Heard could take the stand as soon as today in Johnny Depp's $50 million defamation trial against her. Heard's legal team began its defense with testimony from clinical and forensic psychologist Don Hughes, who stated that Heard had post-traumatic stress disorder after her marriage to Depp.
We still saw the obsessive jealousy and the coercive control and the possessiveness. That still persisted. But when the alcohol and the drugs came together is when Amber Heard was more in danger of being hurt by him.
Joining us now to discuss is criminal defense attorney Sara Azari. Sara, this was a pretty interesting day. I mean, every day has been interesting in this trial, but we heard from this psychologist who was appearing for the defense, right? This is the first defense witness for Amber Heard's side. It's so different from what we heard from the psychologist who appeared for Johnny Depp's side. How does a jury square that?
Right, Brianna. So we have a battle of experts, right, which is typical in a domestic violence case. You've got Dr. Curry, who said there was no PTSD and there was a personality disorder. And then now we have Dr. Hughes, who says there was absolutely PTSD related to abuse and there is no personality disorder. But this ultimately turns on credibility. The jury has to look at these two experts and decide who has the better science, who makes more sense, who is credible in the totality of the evidence that they've heard. And I have to say that Dr. Hughes was effective in two ways, but she also lost credibility. She was effective in that she defined domestic violence as far broader than just physical violence, that it could be sexual, that it could be psychological, emotional, or even include surveillance. She was also effective in that she described why a victim of domestic violence doesn't leave the relationship, because we've heard allusions in Depp's case to the fact that she was motivated, that Heard was motivated by money and fame, and that's why she stayed. So she was effective in those ways. But Brianna, she also lost credibility when she started to say, and she testified, that Amber Heard's acts of violence were mild. I mean, she defecated in the bed, she spit on the guy, she struck him, she threw objects at him, and she potentially severed his finger. How is that mild, right? She lost credibility. She also lost credibility, Brianna, when she said that she was acting in self-defense, because we heard from percipient eyewitnesses who said she was always the aggressor and that it was not triggered. So.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And Amber Heard is going to take the stand today. What are you expecting?
Well, I expect it's going to take several days for her to testify, and then, of course, there's a cross-examination. Her testimony is key. I mean, the team has been strategic in putting up this doctor first, based on the theory of primacy and recency, putting your strongest witness up first and laying the foundation for Heard. But her testimony is key. She has a lot of explaining to do. She has to explain why she stayed in the relationship, why she was dating, rich and famous men. Was that really her motive? Why she wrote this op-ed 2 years after she initially came out with these allegations, and then the divorce. And of course, the actual malice part, which Depp hasn't really proven. Is it something that's going to come out in her cross-examination, or is that going to be a failing piece of this case?
Yeah, two trials going on here, one legal and one very much in the court of public opinion. Sara, thanks as always for being with us.
Of course.